is.
Oh, you're just jealous. 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 Oh, you're just jealous because we're the BG boys. Yeah. Oh, you're just jealous. Oh, you're just jealous. Oh, you're just jealous. Oh, you're just jealous. Oh, you're just jealous.
Stanky freaking jealous, baby.
BG boys.
Oh,
yeah.
What's up, Sean? How are you, man?
Man, how's it going, Adam? Long time no speak there.
Yeah, I know. But I'm so glad we're back here to do this podcast. This one's special for me because I think this game is awesome.
Yep. We definitely mentioned this actually during the last podcast. We were doing the Game Awards because this was one of the running contenders for I forget what category, but
Game of the freaking
mentioned.
decade? Nah.
Not really.
Maybe for me, it's one of the top ones because I thoroughly enjoyed this because I'm a Star Wars fan. Plus,
That's
I'm
true.
a fan of open world games. So this was right up my alley, right? You could be a Jedi.
That's true.
Amazing.
But we're, of course, talking about the Fallen Order for anyone that
Yes, Star
didn't listen to the
Wars
last one.
Jedi Fallen Order.
Right.
With
But
Cal Kestis.
before we get into that, it has been a little bit of time. It was early January we went in. We're now almost the end of February, and we got to catch up a little. How's everything been, man?
Good. I can't
our little
complain.
Favorite segment of what you been playing?
What you been playing
What
lately?
you been playing?
So who should kick it off? Me? What I've been playing
go
lately?
ahead. Yeah, what you been playing?
All right, what I've been playing is Bubble Bobble for Friends. For the folks on YouTube, I'll pop this up there real quick. You see that?
I actually was just showing my wife that. I completely meant to pick that one up. That brought back memories. I had the original on the NES. I remember
Exactly.
playing that.
That's why I wanted it too, because I played the original. For the NES, for me, what hit home was like, this was the first game I played with my dad, I think, besides Mario,
wow.
like the original Mario, Super Mario Brothers.
Wow.
So this was the other cart that I had. So I know they made a second one. I never had it. I know it's kind of rare now and it's pricey if you go look for the NES cart of Bubble Bobble 2. But Bubble Bobble 1, we had a blast with, and that main theme song was just so addicting, right?
I think what always remember about this though was I think this might have been possibly the second, but I think it might have been the first NES game I ever beat as a child.
Oh yeah,
very think about that as a kid.
Wow,
how
I didn't
many
even know
games
that.
Did you really beat?
Oh yeah, you just play them and you get.
Gauntlet 2 was endless. You just kept going.
Yeah, man.
I definitely beat the original Zelda. Like that one, I definitely was able to complete. But I don't know if I was able to complete it before I did Bubble Bobble. Like that one, you could just keep playing, going through all the stages, and
yeah. What's interesting to me, I don't know if you caught this on Netflix real quick, but High Score, the series they made about gaming in the '80s, or like as it started, And
I
they sort of started with Atari.
Watch it. I saw it like in my scroll.
Yeah, so they go on to talk about arcades, right? And how this one guy used to make customizations to the arcades to make them harder, or mods, really. It was like the original mod for an arcade. So they made them harder so you can, feed more coins.
Plus more coins, yeah.
Yeah, so it was like a little business for him, and it ended up being a huge empire for him and his friend. And long story short, they were making mods. But, like, to me, the point is, like, for the NES, those games, dude, as anyone would know who's played them, most of them are really hard, right? Like, you're not beating anything. Like the first Turtles game, forget it.
They, I think, did crappy gameplay or game making and just equated like a good game is hard, that it takes you longer to play, therefore harder to beat, therefore it's a good game. And it's like, no.
No, it just makes you want to throw your little NES out the damn window as a 4-year-old. Or in our case, what were you, 1 or 2?
Right.
Right? That was both of our first gaming experience was the NES, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, my grandmother actually, I think, had borrowed an Atari from a neighbor.
No kidding.
That was my first experience as a game as a very young child. But yes, as far as like what I owned and grew up with was the NES for sure.
Yeah.
But so Bust a Move. I mean, well, not Bust a Move, but the Bubble Bobble.
Oh, I remember Bust a Move. Yeah, Bubble Bobble for friends. So it is what it sounds like. You can play locally with 4 friends. I think maybe online too. I haven't messed with that. 1 to 4 locally. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah, you can grab 4 Joy-Cons and you can sit there like dun 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 dun, have a good time. They're challenging, man. the bosses, the levels aren't so bad, but the bosses, like
Right.
you have to figure out how to beat the boss, sort of like a Mega Man game. You just got to figure it out, die 100
Mm,
times, and then
right.
this is how you beat it, and then you just beat it.
Mm, that's
But
cool.
that's mine. What you been playing lately, man?
Well, I was trying to get back into Fallout 4 to kind of complete that game. I was like,
Ah,
let me platinum it. But they finally released the that patch, the 1.5 patch or whatever, point 5 for the Switch for Stardew Valley.
okay.
So
Ah,
my
yes.
wife, myself, and one of her friends have been
You
jumping
got
in. We're
sucked
trying to
back
get
into
brought
farm
her in.
building, huh?
Oh yeah, dude, hundreds of hours
Yeah.
have been put in already,
Oh
and
yeah.
there will probably be at least another 100 more.
It's
It's
amazing
a
how
great
fun
game,
that
great
is. Or
game.
it's just so
Yeah.
simple, right? You're just
Mhm.
watering plants and doing fishing and
Yeah,
whatever.
you taking care of your animals, you mine like there's just so much to do,
That's
and
right,
they
mining.
added so much. They added like a beach farm. There's like a new island, a new volcano cave, like crazy stuff they added. Like this dude has just been pumping out content for a game that like he technically made so many years ago and hasn't charged for any of it.
Was
So
was that a solo deal? Was that he by himself doing that,
yeah,
or he had other programmers?
he made the game himself when it originally released on the PC, and then Chucklefish as a publisher stepped in, and I believe them and probably some other people started helping him do the ports to all the systems. But
Chucklefish. That's so
that's
great. I like that.
it was one dude. One dude did the whole game.
That's crazy to me, man.
Mm-hmm. And it shows the game. A lot of heart and soul. You could tell it was inspired by the Harvest Moon series, and great. So
Oh, for sure.
that's been my latest thing every day after work is getting ready with the wife. Like, hey, you ready to jump on?
Ready to jump on, do some
Yep,
farming.
yep. We may be doing some later tonight. Who knows? It's just that kind of a wild Monday night, you know.
Of course. Anyway, I want to say one thing before we get into Jedi Fallen Order. Okay,
Oh
so
yeah.
this is big news for guys like us, man, because we're like at the perfect age where this is like amazing news, right? All these remasters coming out. Blizzard has announced that they're making finally the Diablo 2 remake,
Yep.
and
Diablo
they
2
just
Resurrection.
it's not a remake, excuse
Resurrection.
me, it's a remaster. Yeah, Diablo 2
Yes.
Resurrection, it's a remaster. And I saw videos online. They just did BlizzCon. Everything looks amazing. I'm psyched to see it. I was listening to some videos of the devs talking about what they've done to make improvements.
Yep.
And
During the
dude, this is gonna
BlizzCon.
be my addiction when this thing comes out, man.
Yep.
I'm
I'm
gonna get it
excited.
for like 4
Yeah.
different consoles and
That's
PC and
we
every which thing we could do, man. I'm gonna everywhere I go, I need to have Diablo 2 in my face. You know what I'm saying?
and how funny is it that we, like 2 or 3 podcasts before, we were just doing the whole like games that should be remastered, remade,
Yeah,
and this was on the list. And
yeah.
this announcement coming was like, a wow, I can't believe that. Like, we
Yeah, it
were
was
talking
interesting
about
because
this.
they had like whispers about it, but it was just rumors.
Not
Like they wouldn't
really. Yeah,
confirm anything.
it really wasn't anything I was expecting to hear, and it just this announcement
Well,
was
everyone's waiting
humongous.
on Diablo 4, man. I mean,
That's
that's
what I
in
mean. Like with
development too.
that coming out, I really didn't expect this to happen, especially so soon. So this year,
This is to whet
and
everybody's palate for Diablo 4.
yes,
It's not an unwise move by any stretch.
absolutely. And for I'm totally fine with it because what is it? They're doing the cross progression. So if you
Yes.
load characters that you've made onto one system, you could just continue it right on the next system,
Yeah,
jumping right
similar
off.
to Epic Games and like Fortnite where you just have your account and you can log into
Right, right.
any console or what have you and your account's
Hmm.
there, all your stuff.
Hmm.
So
But it
that's
looks like
awesome.
they're doing away with the whole different servers. Like it used to be like US East, US West, and all that stuff. Now it's just going to be like one global server, so everyone's in the same pool together. And it's just gonna, it sounds like they're trying to keep
Yeah,
it as
man.
true to the original game, and with a few things modified for console, because obviously, a mouse and a keyboard is not going to be the same as a
Well, as
controller.
long as they fix all the duping and all the dumb stuff that kind of
I
ruined it
mean,
late stages, when we were younger.
I don't, they might leave it because of the fact that
I don't
that's
think
just,
you can leave that.
well, what they were saying from what the one video was being on their servers fixed a lot of those issues like on its own.
Okay.
So I don't know if they have that. They may leave bots and stuff though, because like they have them now. Like if you jump into Diablo 2, like there's bots currently running like nightmare bail runs and stuff. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything you could do about that. And why care? Like that's just part of the game anyway. So whatever.
Yeah, we'll
But
see. There's
yeah,
some
I'm
purists out there,
excited. Yeah, there's purists for all different things, whether you can play the expansion or not. Like I'm excited is the point. Like
Oh,
I'm
hell yeah, dude.
really
This is
got
like
that. nostalgia is like thumping in the chest.
I saw this. Someone posted it on Twitter, like someone who I follow that also follows the Diablo account, and they retweeted it, and I was like, I was literally, my breath was taken away.
I know, me too. And like I was texting in like another group chat of other friends, and it was just like a wait, what? What do you mean? And then like everyone started doing their own research. It was like, oh my god,
Is it real? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
real.
yeah,
It's
so
like
we're
that.
all in, right?
It's
You
like
in?
that. It's like
Yeah,
that
I'm
gif of
in.
The Office where it's like, it's happening, it's happening, go. You know, amazing.
Yep.
Either way, looking forward to that. So let's jump
Yes.
into Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. One
Mhm.
of my favorite games of the past couple of years. I know EA gets, a bad rap. They've done some shady practices, like the whole thing with Battlefront, as we talked about in other podcasts, with the microtransactions and whatnot.
Mhm.
But it's a single-player, narrative-driven game, so that sort of gets taken out of the equation. You don't have to worry about that. Some people are just literally just biased against EA for multiple different reasons, and they didn't even give this game a sniff. But to me, those people are losing out, because to me, this is a hell of a game, man. Awesome Star
Absolutely.
Wars game, awesome somewhat open world game. I know it's narrative driven, but there's lots of planets you could explore, and we'll get into that later. But first I wanted to talk about how they introduce Cal Kestis, which is the protagonist in the game. He's like the main young Jedi who, comes of age, and, he has force powers, but he sort of hides from it. He's this, I guess you can call him a mechanic of sorts, and he works on this planet, and this takes place basically, I don't know how many years, maybe 20, 30 years after Order 66 has been executed, where all the Jedi were or most of the Jedi were executed.
Aren't like all Jedi mechanics in some way? Like all
I guess,
main
right? They're
characters,
making the
like they've
lightsabers.
all fiddle with things. Like they're all droid experts and stuff. I just feel like that's a recurring theme. But continue.
That's true. And they introduced the first droid character into this game, the beloved BD-1, which
cute, yeah.
I don't even know what kind of droid he is. It's not one we've seen before, but he's like this three-legged droid that sort of taps into everything. Sort of like, remember how R2-D2 used to just plug himself into like all things?
Yeah.
Whether
Yeah.
it's, the Republic or,
Yeah, all his little metal thing that comes out. You know what BD-1 reminds me of? Like in when they're on Hoth in what is that, Empire?
Yeah.
And they have like those binoculars that are like huge.
Yes.
It looks like his head is just binoculars, and they just added a body onto it.
I
It's
guess
like,
maybe that's where they got the design from.
you know,
I
like
didn't
he
really
almost looks like he has binocular eyeballs. You know?
He definitely does. But it's just and this is what makes it Star Wars for me, right? You think about the droids from the original movies, okay? Whether it's R2-D2 or any of them, So they really make those characters beloved characters, and especially R2-D2, because he has no dialogue, and they endear the character to the viewers by sort of having the protagonist, like it used to be Luke Skywalker, now it's Cal in this case of this game, have them talk to and befriend the little droid like it's almost a pet, I guess you can say. And he responds with little bleeps and chirps and whatnot, but he has no real dialogue to speak of. But by the time the game's over, you're like, oh my god, the BD-1 was one of the best characters in the game. I mean, not everyone would say that, but he definitely becomes a character in and of itself. So I think it's fascinating how they did that in this game, just like they did it in the movies. And they really, to me, that's what makes it not all encompassing, but very much part of a Star Wars universe, a Star Wars story. And I
feel
I
like
found that really
it was
fascinating.
a lot more animated for a droid also, because he's so little that he's almost like a pet bird. Like he's always like
Yeah,
hopping
like a
on his
parrot.
shoulder and
For sure.
jumping around. Like instead of like R2 that's kind of just able to spin and beep and be like kind of funny in like his own way, this guy was like a little bit more of an animated ability of a droid, which you don't get to see a lot. So he very unique in that sense too.
Well, yeah, and he's the healing droid in this one as well. He's like, BD,
Yeah,
Cal.
popping
and
those little stims.
the stims, injecting himself. Like by the end of the game, you wonder, like, Cal must be like
Yeah.
just full of holes, man. All those heals from the
It's
stims.
just like little glow sticks popping out of his head. Just thanks.
Yeah, I didn't really mentally dig too much into the fact that, oh yeah, he just pop out and stab himself and he's good. Everything's all good.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Some
it.
things you just take at surface value, right? Like with any
Mhm.
fictional story. So, either way, I thought that was fascinating how they rolled another droid character in that just becomes this beloved thing by the end of the game. But either way, Cal Kestis is your protagonist. In the beginning, he's just this young guy who I said is like a scrapper and like a rigger guy who just fixes everything. They introduce you in the beginning of the game to his friend, who actually sees him use the Force, and
Right.
Cal is just like, shoot, you can't tell anybody because they're gonna know, the Jedi were being hunted. So the
Right.
more that gets out that he might be a Jedi or at least Force sensitive, that puts him at great risk. So at the beginning of the story, they sort of ease you into it. And what was fascinating to me is, like, the main bad guys in this game are the Inquisitors. So this is
Right.
interesting to me too, because I didn't sit and fully watch. When my first playthrough of this game, I played through maybe 3 times so far.
Mm.
And the Inquisitors to me were, I thought, exclusive to this game. They weren't. They were actually built into the story of the 2 animated series that they had. What is it? Rebels and what's the other
Clone Wars.
one? Which one?
Clone Wars.
Clone Wars. Thank you. So the Inquisitors are actually characters within that world already. So they just took that, and it was another way to, I don't know, not combine, but sort of seamlessly integrate these new characters into a story in the same way that, they introduce it with other recognizable characters, right?
True.
So I didn't realize that. So for me, these were just new enemies, and it's what the Inquisitors
That weren't
are.
quite Sith, but like kind of
Well,
are.
they sort of
Yeah.
became Sith. They were former
Yeah.
Jedi of the Jedi Order, right? Part of the Galactic Empire.
Yeah, that got like turned.
Order 66 happened, and Palpatine sort of made this little mod squad of bad guys called the Inquisitors. And then in the cartoon, I know there's some male and some female. I think we only see in this game the 9th sister and 2nd sister for the most part in terms of the Inquisitors. So
Well, the second sister is the whole. The 9th sister. I mean, the 9th sister rather is a whole other.
I said 9th.
thing.
So this is we'll
the
talk
9th.
about that because that gets
Gotcha,
confused for
gotcha.
me. That got confusing
Yeah,
for just a
gotcha.
few minutes. I was like, "Whoa, who? The Night Sister?" So we'll get into that. But
Gotcha.
for me, I thought these were some interesting characters. Second sister's cool. So Cal ends up meeting this lady called Seer Junda, she's a former Jedi as well, who, like Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi, cut herself off from the Force. And, she has this sort of hinting in the beginning that she's like decided voluntarily to not be a Jedi anymore, and sort of Cal wonders
Right.
why. And when you play the game, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but
Right,
when you
they
play the
explore
game,
it a bit more.
they do explore it more, and her story becomes unveiled. But Seer Junda has a connection to the second sister, but the second sister was a young former Jedi that was turned into an Inquisitor and, with the dark side of the Force. So she becomes the main sort of tail, so to speak, to come after Cal. And she sort of tries to veer him in the direction of, well, watch who you're talking to because you don't know the whole story of this lady, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's interesting. So they build that up. And as you go along in this game, Cal has flashbacks of being a Padawan.
Yeah, training, right?
Yes, training prior to the Order 66 event. So he was young. To me, I don't know his exact age. He looked young, maybe 12, 11, maybe 13, in that range. He was a real young man.
Early Padawan. Yeah, early Padawan stage. Where they're learning.
So as you go along in the game, all of a sudden, when it comes to a point in the game where it's like you have nowhere to go, they'll flash back to his training with this guy called Jaro Tapal, who is also part of the Jedi Order and Galactic Republic. and this was his master. And it's interesting because they almost always flash back to him doing training in what I call like a danger room. Like, remember X-Men had a danger room where the X-Men practice? This is very similar. This is like a danger room for Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So this was cool to me because you're meeting a new for me, this was a new character. I don't know if he was in Rebels or not. Either way,
I'm not sure.
Cool Jedi character.
Of an alien origin also.
Yes,
like not a human dude. So it's like always cool to see their alien people. They pop out.
Yeah. Lasat is the name of his species. I don't know where they come from or what have you, but this is Cal's master. So as you go along in the story, you're learning new tips and tricks. It's strange because like it's memories for him, right? So he flashes back. It goes blank. You go into this area, and you're relearning live with Jaro Tapal, and he says, just do this, do that.
It also ties in with the game because the whole point of him living his life on that like planet of them being like mechanics, like they were like stripping down old broken Imperial ships and stuff is basically their job. And the whole point of that was that like it was very dangerous to him to be a Jedi after the Order 66. So he did have to cut himself off completely. And basically when you do that, if you're not living the Force, it's like one of those like if you don't use it, you will in fact lose it.
Yeah, there you go. For sure.
So he does not actually like he chose to forget it and it kind of went away. So now you're getting into
it was safety for him at that point.
And it's always parts of the game where to progress further, another Force power needs to be remembered. It's always like an ability or a power. So like you need to remember how to like Force pull, and it's like a memory of how he did that, or like doing like the running on the wall ability.
Yeah, so that does that's what I was saying. So that does two things at the same time. It gives you backstory for Cal, who his character is, where he came from, and you know how he ended up where he's at. It does show you that he did have formal training when he was younger. He was a Padawan. And as you go along in the current story, as you play the game, you learn a new skill as you go along. So over time, as you're playing the game, you become a badass.
Yeah, but
and he remembers these skills.
But it's really not like a new skill. It's like new to you as a player, but it's not
new to you as the player.
Like,
that's right.
It's not like in a weird RPG or video game thing where it's like, oh, I could do this now. Like he did know how to do this and was trained how to do this, but now it's like a quick refresher.
Learning.
So it's like it feels more thematic that way, where it's like this is just something I used to know how to do, and it's not like in a video game like suddenly you got a rocket launcher, that kind of thing, like where it's like things you never had before, and it could be weird. Yeah. So I like the way they set that up. That I definitely will agree. Like the memories made all these abilities feel a little bit more, and like you got through like that initial struggle as a child. And now it's like they give you like that time to practice it in the danger room, and then you're back in the real world. It's like, all right, apply it.
And now he can do it and apply it as he goes along in the new world. So before we get into the mechanics of the game that you wanted to discuss, basically, I just wanted to touch upon some basics. So in this game, it's not a levels game per se. There's different worlds you can go to, which makes sense for Star Wars. You hop into a ship, right? So we talked about Sir Junda, which is one of the main friendly characters. There is this little guy you meet that is with Sir Junda called Grease Dritus.
Yeah, a little pilot dude.
Yeah, he's this little pilot guy. He reminds me of the dude a bit. Totally different race, or species, I should say, than... you remember in Solo, the little pilot guy? Similar in comic relief character.
Okay.
I don't recall the dude's name, forgive me, but
I know
similar in comic relief character, and similar role as
he's
that dude.
Degenerate gambler.
Gambler. He's
almost like a Brooklyn dude. Like, yeah, what's going like
yeah.
Has that,
how
like,
you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
So he's your pilot, right? Your ship is the Mantis. It's really his ship, right? So he's basically dragging you around.
It's not Star Wars without a crack pilot. That's just it.
That's it, man.
How this rolls. We don't make the rules. We just live in the rule of the world.
So we've got Sierra and we've got Grease and we've got Cal as this little team that's going around. Sierra's little thing is she wants to find this object that will allow her to find other force sensitive, either children or just people in general that are force sensitive. She wants to rebuild the Jedi Order, but it's contradictory because she herself doesn't want to still use the Force and be a Jedi. So she's sort of,
And
as
it's
she
like-
sees Cal
and
become more
it's her
skillful.
master that was the guy that like created, I guess, the device, or was like doing research to get these things. So like, it's not like she's just
Yeah.
like picking this out of nowhere. Like she has intimate knowledge of
Exactly.
where this thing should
So
be. And
she actually took Cal to the planet where you meet BD1. That was like her little, this was her forethought. Like, you know how
Oh, yeah,
Jedi can see
was
like
it
the
Pagano?
future a bit? Yeah. Yeah. So she brought him to meet BD1, and BD1 sort of befriends Cal, and then you see a projection of her master. So he's learning about the Jedi Temple and, you know, different things that this Jedi Master was looking for in order to rebuild the Jedi Order after the Order 66 thing has happened. So all this stuff is built up, and even in the beginning, you understand like where the characters are at,
Right.
you know, what Cal is starting to learn, and what your mission sort of is going to be going forward. So you have a choice. When he gets to a certain point, you go from planet to follow along the narrative.
Mhm.
And there's like 6 or 7 planets that you can go to: Nur Zepho, Dathomir, Kashyyyk, which is where the Wookiees come from, Elam, Bracca, and Bogano. So Bracca's where you start in the game. I don't think you go back. He just escapes and gets out of there.
Right. Yep.
And, you know, the story moves forward from there. And he learns about the Zepho, which is a whole nother thing. I won't summarize the whole game, but this is the premise of how the game is based and how you're going to move along as this character from essentially beginning to end.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's interesting the way that they set all these things, because again, you hear only like these 6 planets that you're able to visit, and it seems like it would be a kind of a small area, but it's one of those things where I could see the argument going one way or another. Like, I didn't mind it at times, but then there was other times that I was getting very frustrated in this game for this, where you'll go to a planet, you'll explore, but there's a lot of things that are just either outside your current capabilities of reaching,
Yeah.
or just cut off from you entirely. And it's done that way on purpose, because again, like certain stages of the game, you're learning these new powers, or, you know, relearning the old powers you knew as a child. And once you learn that, you are then able to revisit these other planets and progress a little bit further each time, which is all well and good. But some of these planets, like for instance, the is it Zepho?
What?
No,
which-
is it Ilum?
What did the
Ilum,
planet
ice
look like?
one?
Yeah, that's it.
The one where you like go underground and
In the
there's
water?
like all those. No, not in the water. It's the one where it's like ice, and like you go underground with like the elevators down, and you're in like caverns.
Yeah.
It's mostly ice is really the whole planet. Like the amount of times that I've just generally got lost on that place
Oh, yeah.
is frustrating. Like,
Especially
they're
if it's
so
your first
big.
playthrough as well. Like, you know, it's tough.
Even like not even on the first playthrough, like some of these things you just know intimately, but some areas, even looking at, like, because you do have a map and it's 3D and you can kind of follow along, but because it's also multi-layered or multi-tiered, I should say, what looks like it should connect to the upper levels just won't.
Yeah.
You know, like it looks like it should make sense that it does, and it just will not. And now
Yeah,
you're
you
like,
do run
spend
into a
time-
wall, so to speak, here and there.
Yeah. So that was one thing I was getting very frustrated with. Like, there's no quick jump point to where you are. You have to start from your ship every time that you go to this planet and go from there.
Yeah. Well, the way they sort of get around that is you do open secret pathways, right?
Right. But
so
again,
it does
it's
cut your
still-
thing in half in terms of distance. It's
but,
like
you're
shortcuts,
still
but you
running
do,
a
yeah.
good distance, and it's like, oh my god.
Especially
Or, like,
Dathomir,
there's
my
so
God.
many, and there's so many ones that you open that is this where I needed to go? Or like you'll open one, but then there's another one halfway from there that, like, if you don't make that left to that new opening,
Yeah,
you're like completely screwed,
Oh,
because
yeah.
you opened it up before you leaving. So
exactly.
that was one thing that I was getting a bit frustrated with playing with this, but
Well,
mostly a good experience.
while we're
So
while we're teetering on like the negative aspects of the game, I will say, expect glitches in this game and
Oh, yeah.
wonky
Oh, yeah.
stuff. Okay,
I crack up on them though. I don't even get mad. Like I take a screenshot or a video and I just crack up and it's like, all right, moving on.
All right, so check this out. So if you've never played this game, as you're playing the game, you're doing Jedi stuff, right?
Oh,
Meaning
yeah.
what? Flips, fighting with lightsabers,
Mm-hmm.
and jumping to high places, climbing to low places, etc. So when you're playing, there's plenty of times where you will fall off a cliff or down, and it's just you're dead. Okay.
Yep. That's it.
So what's cool though is they do bring you back. You just sort of teleport and it's a redo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And thank goodness, because honestly, I would have probably thrown this game if it didn't have that. So, but what I wanted to say about it is there is some wonkiness to it. You're gonna play the game, and all of a sudden you're gonna be like, "What is happening?" Like there's a part in the game in Dathomir where you're running back from a place and trying to get to the ship quickly, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to be able to take out your lightsaber, right?
Oh yeah.
But it does. If you press the lightsaber button, it will come out, but you can't use it. Like strangeness, right?
Uh-huh.
Like little wonky things, nothing like game breaking at all.
Yeah.
But just like what just happened? Like, you know what I mean? Like you'll it's like self-questioning.
That's what I'm saying. These things just crack me up. Where it's like, all right, maybe I'm being taken out of this. Like, because in that moment, like you're running, it's supposed to be like
the
very
immersion
high
sort of
energy,
screeches to a
and then
halt
you're
for a
like,
second.
okay, like I'm in a game, but this is clearly a mess up in this game.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Some eye rolling
again,
stuff
you
definitely
enjoy it.
happens.
Like, come on, it's okay. It's a game, also. Like,
Yeah, you sort of wonder if it can be patched out, but some stuff, it is what it is.
it's okay. It cracks me up. I can't get mad at these things. They're more like, I feel like it's almost like you're discovering a secret. Like this didn't mean to happen. It's like I must show the world.
Oh yeah.
Look what I did on accident. Look what this did to me.
Yeah, exactly. So one thing I thought that was a cool, not even an Easter egg, it's straight up just part of the game, was I keep forgetting this dude's name. Just give me 2 seconds. Oh, Sol Guerrera, right? Sol Guerrera. So if you've ever seen what's the Star Wars prequel to New Hope? Well, I'm
Rogue
blanking on it.
Squadron? We talking about Forrest Whitaker's character?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
he's old as hell in that movie. Like he's like an old man post wars and stuff. And this he's like kind of a sprightly dude. Suddenly.
Well, exactly. So this to me was a cool tie-in.
Very cool.
To Rogue One. So he was the dude that brings Jyn Erso out of the little like hole she was hiding in.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever seen this movie, after the parents are taken,
right.
By what's his name? What's that dude's name?
I can't remember.
Captain.
Yeah.
Dude, it's so frustrating to me when I can't think of the name.
Okay.
Either way,
I can't.
The parents get taken away. Jyn Erso is saved by Saw Gerrera. So Saw Gerrera is like this outlaw resistance guy.
Yeah, with like
who's hands on, straight up,
like half android himself. He's like a cyborg in a sense. It's like crazy.
Well, when you see him in that movie, he's like in shambles. But when you see him in this game, you see some of the stuff he was involved in. Exactly, he's in his prime, and he's doing what he has to do for the rebellion.
Warfare. Yeah.
Right. So I thought it was awesome that they built him into one of the levels. I thought that was fantastic. They did lots of stuff that, definitely makes it part of the overall big Star Wars universe, which I thought was really cool.
Forrest Whitaker doing the voice, so it's like proper tying in. He looks.
Yes.
That was the one thing too. Like the character models in this game, they look like the actual actors.
Yes.
Like this kid, like who this actor is seeing him. Like it's just one of those things. And again, like Forrest Whitaker, it's just like, holy crap, there he is with his, eye crossing and everything. Like, it's just
with his eye crossed, that poor guy. That's his real issue. That's not even like for the movie.
That is like iconic since like Color of Money when he's just like a young kid. Like that's his look. There's
it's almost part of his character. It's like it has a ruggedness
like,
to it.
That was very cool. Like there weren't like many like I wouldn't say name brand things because like there are things that they tie in or like Star Wars lore, but that was like a cool one that like I didn't think I'd see that character show up again in any media or something
Yeah.
like that. You know what I mean? Like it was a
I
movie.
love that line he has in Rogue One where Jyn Erso comes back after all those years and she's a grown woman and she's like looking for him. And he's like, "Did you come here to kill me?" You know, just the way he delivers that line is
Yeah.
just perfection. It's just for
Yeah.
me memorable and it's just perfection, dude. That guy's amazing. I love Forrest Whitaker. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just like in general. I just thought the character modeling that they did, everyone looks amazing. Even for like we were playing this on the PS4, and it was like everything about the game just looked like a top-notch game. Like you said, it was very underrated. I feel as far as people going and seeing it, like the shadows, the colors, like everything was great. Like even though there was some glitches, like the action all felt very tight. Obviously, you're going around as a Jedi, you're fighting familiar enemies as far as stormtroopers, and you're able to do like classic Jedi moves like deflecting bolts and that sort of thing. If anyone had ever played Force Unleashed, which I feel like was the last, and like what I feel like most people always relate to, or at least in the previous console era, of like an action Star Wars game, it does play very similar to that in the sense that like you're going around doing things, but like it just does it its own way and looks a lot more stylized. But it does bring back like that Star Wars skill tree type
Yeah.
thing where you get to kind of choose what powers you're going to go. I mean, realistically, you're able to get
You end
just
up
about
getting
everything.
most of
Yeah,
them.
like
Yeah.
I
If
think
not
you could
all.
get them all. I'm pretty sure I got them
Well,
all
if
in
you
my
go and
playthrough.
continue on after you beat the game, you can, really
I
get
mean,
them
if you
all.
explore everything, I feel like you could do it before beating because like maybe I had to get one more after beating the game to finish, but it's just good, like just random things. Like sometimes it'll just be a matter of like increasing your force bar because that's like kind of the way they justify being able to use force powers. You're not just doing it on the whim. You have a bar. It's like the more you're holding pull, it starts drawing that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So you can increase that. There's like better blocking with the lightsaber because you have to like manually block. They'll make it where eventually like it'll just start deflecting on its own. Just stuff like that.
One
Like
thing for
dashing
me,
strikes, that sort
yeah.
of thing.
And not to interrupt you, but one thing for
Sure.
me that this game, another quirky thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I first played this game, and I was like, it took me a while to figure out how you save the damn game.
Oh, yeah.
There's a decent intro to the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what you feel like is the first stage of the game that you get through, it is the first stage, but it's really just a long intro that's getting you ready for the rest of the story of the game. So
True. Yeah.
the little meditation spots are where you save.
Mm-hmm.
And it took
And regain all your things. Too.
your strength, right? It refreshes you essentially, but it also respawns all enemies. So
Yes.
if you happen to be at one and you just defeated a whole bunch of enemies, if you have any idea of going backwards for a minute, just keep in mind all the enemies are now respawned.
But maybe you want to farm a little more experience too, or practice some moves you got. Like it becomes helpful in that sense. Like you might have just gotten some sort of ability and you want to be able to try it out, and you know that there's like a group of like 6 guys that are going to shoot you, and it's like, let's say it's the deflection. You can just go back and just start deflecting at your whim and like get used to it. So I found that helpful in the game to help prep you going along, so it becomes more of a natural thing. But I will say, like going back to talking about the stims and how like that was a weird thing, because in other Star Wars games, like the RPGs and stuff, usually you would just have like a force heal. Like that was kind of a thing that they like
Yes.
throwing in, like your own healer. So instead of it becoming like a thing where you can almost just never use force powers and just heal, they gave you these stim packs, and you only get so many, and BD will get upgrades as you explore the world.
And you can
to get
upgrade
a few
Cal
more.
to have the ability to have them do more of a heal when
Right.
you use them, or it increases the amount. I think you have to
You get both.
find. You do,
Yeah.
but I think you have to find in secret
amount,
locations in
yeah.
the game to
Yeah.
increase the actual amount you can
Right.
use.
So, and that's part of it. You go to these little meditation points and it refills those, but it just gives it so that like while you're in the moment, like he can only carry like 5 or 2 or whatever at the time of the game. So it prevents you from just like spam healing, because it is an action game, and they don't want you just like sitting there healing yourself. They want you to like just learn to. It's almost Dark Soulsy in that sense, where like on the harder difficulties, like, yeah, they have a way of going, but they're pretty punishing at times too.
Dude, on the harder difficulties, even the Jedi Knight, which is like the next difficulty up, I guess you can call it the medium difficulty if you want.
Mm-hmm.
It gets significantly harder, especially the bosses.
Agreed.
Especially the bosses.
Couldn't do it.
I just don't have that kind of time. I have no shame in saying that I will play the game on Jedi Knight difficulty, but when it comes to the bosses, I just don't have time to just give it 20 tries, man. You know, I don't. I got kids and stuff. I want to go through the story. I want to enjoy it. You know what I mean? I want it to be a pleasurable experience.
Anyone that wants to, that's perfectly
Oh
fine.
no, it's awesome.
More power to you. But yeah, I agree. I absolutely cannot do it. It's
crazy.
It's too much to sit there.
Crazy. I couldn't even fathom going to the next difficulty above Jedi Knight, which is like Master or something like that. So
I put it on the easiest. After a point, like I think I was losing to like a stupid like mini boss, like a frog on Dathomir.
Oh really?
And I was like,
on Jedi Knight?
Yeah. I was just like, no, I put it on the easy Padawan or whatever the hell the level difficulty is. And I was like, I want to explore. This is a game that I really wanted to see the story, and just based on like, because again, normal playthrough is fine, but again, those boss things were just like really brutal at times.
Yeah,
and
the easy mode is basically story mode.
Yeah, and like the battling, like you could still get your ass kicked a little if you're not careful, but it's not unforgiving. Like there was things where like even like the hit boxes once you went up was just like. It changed that, which was crazy. Like I couldn't even believe what was going on with some of these things.
It just gives all the enemies like real thick skin, like or armor, so to speak. You know
Honestly,
what I mean?
though, I do feel like they should have put a difficulty level between the normal and the Padawan.
Agreed.
Because it was way too much of a jump back. I would have preferred something that maybe just a slightly less aggressive in certain things, because once you put it back, I just noticed even with that frog, he just wasn't.
Yeah, like the Jedi Knight difficulty, which is the next one up from the easier story mode, should have been the next. I felt like level up.
Right.
So the next level, I can't even. I'm not even gonna bother with that.
Yeah. You have to
just
be
get
a glutton for
owned.
punishment.
Yeah, for sure.
Sadomasochist.
So let's go back to the Inquisitor thing for a second, because this is interesting to me.
Okay.
Because the Inquisitors sort of show up every now and then and just make your life miserable, and they become bosses, etc. But they're key to the story, which is fine. So along your way, you go to the planet Dathomir, which is the red planet. I think that's home to the Darth Maul species of characters. Right. So most of the
Night Sisters.
The Night Sisters. So. But the Darth Maul type characters are obviously male characters, and they're pretty tough. They're pretty tough, man. But you eventually, the point of what I was saying is with the the ninth sister, you meet the lady, I guess not a boss, but the ladies that run the Dathomir area that you go to. Their little crew is called the Night Sisters. So there's only really one left that's alive that you meet alive. A lot of these are like undead, like
and they're like witches in a sense. That's what they.
Yes, and necromancers, really what she is, because the little drones that come after you and fight you, she's sort of revived. You know, to come get you. So every here and again on that level. She summons the Night Sisters. She doesn't know you or trust you yet, so she just says sick 'em and, sends them for you. So here's my issue, and it's a little nitpicky thing, right? So her thing is called the Night Sisters. Then you have the ninth sister that's a Inquisitor.
And they just like numbered
and
them.
And then a
lazily.
second sister.
That's why it's like, it's why it's weird. Like
I don't mind the numbering because they apparently did that in the show and it's consistent. But I just was like, this girl Merrin that you meet, who's so-called Queen of the Night Sister, whatever, shouldn't be a sister of anything, right? In my opinion.
Or like maybe they could have made it like the sisterhood. Or something.
I don't like using the word sister. Use anything else.
it's a group of females. Like I understand the reason why they would do that, but don't have it being like they're sisters and these are sisters, but they're not related sisters. Like what sense
Exactly.
does that make? Like again,
Exactly.
they could have changed it, but maybe sisterhood makes people think like sister of the traveling pants. It's not like
And
it's weird.
and
But
as you're
like
playing the
do
game, it's
something
easily
else. Yeah.
visually distinguishable. But the names, I felt like they were
Yes.
overusing the sister and the sisterhood,
Agreed.
and it's like, are these
Agreed.
people attached to those? And they seem not. Like, I wasn't
Yeah,
fooled, but it was, someone who's not familiar with these characters, I could see just being like, what? What sisters?
Yeah,
What
I
sisters
agree.
we talking
It
about
was
here now?
off-putting. It was off-putting for sure. I agree 100% with
She
that
ends
one.
up being a really cool character, and
Yes.
actually one of your crew members over time. I don't want to give away too much, but it's bizarre to me that was just a choice. Like,
Mm-hmm.
remember in the movie Grandma's Boy, when
Yes.
the guy Kane comes up to the Matrix guy who creates the game, and he comes up with the idea of, oh, well, these characters are very similar to these characters on that level. That could be confusing. Why don't you just render them different colors? Remember that part in that movie?
Yep.
To me, this is literally the exact same thing, only instead of the colors of the characters being similar, it's the names. I don't know.
Right.
It was just a personal choice
Yeah.
that I probably would have changed if I. But again, a nitpicky thing doesn't make me not like the
And, like,
game.
maybe this isn't the game's choice. It was lore that maybe already existed, and they just decided to go through with it. And then upon linking them together, it's like, wait a minute. Well, we already kind of decided and designed levels.
And go do
So
it.
yeah, we're just gonna go with
Yeah,
it.
do
So
it.
I could see that being the case as well. But yeah, whatever. It is a little nitpicky. But speaking of, I guess the second and Night Sister, which one? Because again, you played a little more recently. Which one was Seer's ex-student? Was that the second sister?
Yes.
Okay. So one thing that I personally love, it was one of those things where the boss battle before lowering the difficulty upset the hell out of me. It was the first meeting of her.
The
'Cause
first
good God.
my first playthrough of that, dude. When you
Yeah,
go down
it
that
was-
elevator and
oh.
you see this girl and she challenges you, she
Yeah.
must have whooped my ass
Yeah, it was so bad. But
20 times.
but prior, and this was this also goes back to the whole, but I'll get into it. She has a little conversation with you, and she's almost facing away from Cal, and just the way she delivers that outstanding, and then
Yeah.
turns, and that's in the ball.
Love it.
That was just oh my God, I want to
Love it.
rewatch this scene so many times.
Yeah.
Just the way it comes through, and it's that hiss, I think, from the helmet. And this is a personal thing for me, where I feel like the minute any cool Star Wars character removes their helmet,
It should go.
you're ruining the character, though.
Yeah.
Kylo Ren should never have taken his helmet off. He is way less of a badass with it off. I get they were trying to go,
But that's how
Ben
you get to know the
Solo,
character.
but who
He's a
cares?
little whiny
I wanted,
biatch, but you know what?
did I need
that
to know
gives him-
Vader in those other trilogies? He was just the evil presence with a helmet, and it was amazing.
Dude.
And he stole everything.
If
you
you
know what
look
I mean?
at Star Wars as only the first original 3 movies, the original trilogy,
right.
Vader is just ice, man. Before
Yeah.
you get Anakin, and
Oh, yeah.
Anakin to me, when you watch the prequel trilogy, Anakin's really soft for a while. So
the
I think
third
they
one.
did that. Yes, of course. So I think they did that deliberately. He goes
I don't even
so
mean-
evil. You
I'm not
couldn't even
even-
believe that he had it in him almost.
I was saying, I'm not even talking about him turning part of the third movie. I just mean from the beginning up till then, it's kind of this is how he is in his prime of being a badass Jedi, and he's sick. It was one of those things where you almost forget how terrible the crying in the second one was and
Yeah.
stuff like that. He's so badass. He just
Yeah.
takes Dooku down quick. There's all these things going on
Oh
in that
my
one.
god.
But anyway, we could
Yeah.
talk about
yeah,
that
yeah.
one. But that's what I mean. That character, they by the third movie, it was oh, okay. This is really what you probably should have started doing. We don't really need to see him being.
But the second sister character, like you say, I think they did it right in the sense that she has legitimate toughness. You can
Mhm.
tell she's rugged and has been through whatever and made her the person she is.
takes the helmet off, and it's I get it, trying to connect with Cal in that sense, where it's hey, you kind of have my old master, and I have beef with her, and there's reasons.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
her with the
There's
helmet on
reasons.
is super badass. It was just the voice and everything was
Yeah.
great, and then off you're completely different person. It's
Yeah.
all right.
That didn't rub me the wrong way because it's interesting about you mentioned Kylo. I love the Kylo character and what he was and what he becomes and whatnot. You know, it's a little dicey in that third movie. You
But
know,
him with the mask on is so much more
so much
sinister.
better.
There's no question. And it's just like,
I
ah,
think the Force Awakens is the best movie of the three in the new trilogy, in my
okay.
opinion. You know, because he is that
Yeah.
ruthless, you know, mysterious character that Vader was.
True. Stopping that blaster bolt is definitely one of the most badass
Few things in that
scenes
movie
of,
that just he's like ruthless, you
of
know.
Force powers. But
Whew.
anyway, with in parts that I enjoyed, I guess, to not like crap all over, because I do want to reiterate, like I did very much enjoy the playthrough as a whole, and going back to comparisons to Force Unleashed, the puzzles in this game similar in some senses, but I feel like done very well as far as like using full use of all the different force powers and stuff. There was a few that might have been a little bit annoying. Like there was that one ball rolling one, which I feel like I almost cheesed to get it to go. Like I feel like there was a way where it probably shouldn't have been the way they had you complete it, but
You
like
mean with the
using
Force
wind
push?
and block things. There
Yeah.
was just one where it's like that room where you had
Oh
to
yeah,
like
I know
move
the
the
one. I
walls
know. I know
around.
exactly. Yeah.
It's very frustrating, but like they had ones where you were like pulling flames from like candles and stuff
Yeah.
and like trying to get like very cool use of like holding and pulling and then
Again,
like
my
guys
first
coming at you and
playthrough,
stuff.
that part and that stage and how you have to progress from there with the
Yeah,
fire,
frustrating.
dude. I
Yeah, it
had
took me a little
no
while.
idea. I probably looked it up, to be honest with you. I wouldn't have figured that out in that
I
specific
I
main
think
area.
that one I did try to figure out on my own, but it took me a while. Like it was at least an hour alone on that one part, just
Oh,
kind
for
of
sure.
going up and down. But and it was a little bit satisfying when I figured it out because that was a cool one. I'm like, no, I think I can get this one. The
Yeah.
ball one though, I definitely had to look up at some point because and then it was like how I was doing it was how you were supposed to, but I was like, I don't think am I just not getting the timing right?
Yeah.
But it's just it was very cool. Like they let you use full control of all your powers throughout the game, and it was very like I liked the way they did the puzzling. Like it was a pure action puzzle at that point with the Force, and very cool.
Yeah, man. I mean, I like how each individual planet is sort of its own entity in and of itself. Like, obviously, it's a different planet, but the
Right.
things you do on those planets are different, for the most part, from what you've done on the planet before.
True. True.
You know?
And I like I again I just love all the Star Wars things that you're putting in, like the amount of stormtroopers coming at you, the different droids. They had those droids from Rogue Squadron that like the tall black weird I can't I don't
Dude,
remember what
those guys
his
are tough.
yeah, but
No,
it
I
was
know what
cool
you're
though.
talking about.
They were cool battles, and it was a cool thing to have that droid appear like in another medium. And you know, what I mean, again, like you're seeing Forrest Whitaker, so like it was like another pull from
Yeah,
that
the
movie.
Rogue One. What's the actor's name? You remember the actor's name who played that
No,
droid?
no, I have no
He's a
idea.
comedian. I'm so bad with this stuff when it comes to
Yeah,
names.
I
Either
don't know.
way, the big tall droid that's in
Mhm,
Rogue One makes an appearance.
mhm. But in like multiple times, like he's like you're fighting him constantly, like his I guess line of droids.
Yeah,
Uh, you're
it's not
getting
just one.
like
Yeah, several.
at a certain point you're having hunters come at you, so they're like mini boss fights that just to show up in the level. Very dynamic, very cool in that sense. Like
Yes.
a few different
Oh
times that
yeah,
you
I
go
remember
here,
the part you're talking about. That
you have
Kashyyyk planet is also just you got tough, man.
yeah. Um just like a lot of jump like just the normal progression through the stages, like things that are spinning that you have to stop with your power to be able to like run across this like spinning platform or turbines, stopping them so you're not getting
Yeah.
cut. Very like just very well done as far as using all the stuff in your arsenal basically to go
Your
through
abilities, yeah.
fighting the ATSTs and those like random like you had a few times right and again I don't want to spoil like when and where but like where you'd have these giant monsters come in and now you have like this whole other dynamic of not just like a one-on-one fight, it's like a you versus this giant creature and trying to like dodge its humongous attacks and
Yep.
take it down and sometimes you're getting taken through a level in like very
That's what I'm
cool
saying, man. This game
stylistic
blew
things.
me away
Yeah,
with some of the
like there was times where
interactions
like
you have with these
you were
creatures.
in it like you felt like you were being taken for a ride fighting this giant thing like almost like the movies where
Very
they'll have some
immersive.
crazy like thing of them going through caves or whatever. And again, I don't want to spoil anything, but like they were very cool scenes and very well done. And the whole time was like edge of my seat while playing it. Like, what the hell is going on?
Insanity. And I love it, man. I know you didn't get your PS5 yet, and it's a sore subject, but you probably, you see it in the background here. I got mine. I got the digital one. And this game, they did an update for where you got 60 frames per second now. And it looks clean and smooth, dude. It still has some of the wonkiness we discussed earlier, but in general, it's crazy. And with the Force abilities, and it's funny because I'm on Twitter a lot at Whirlin the Mage. If you ever want to hit me up for any reason, or at VG Boys, you can hit up Sean as well. But either way, I was talking to somebody on there who I'm casually friendly with, just talking gaming on Twitter, and he was doing a playthrough of it, and he would post like the PS5 and PS4 share like clips of him doing stuff. So I know in this game, for whatever reason, you get involved with the laser sword fighting, you know what I mean, like that kind of stuff, but you forget that there's all of these like force utilities you can use that help you along. You really gotta utilize that, especially for the harder enemies and the bigger enemies. You gotta force freeze them, man, and flank them a bit. And he wasn't doing it. He's like, oh yeah, you know what? I keep forgetting to use it, and that happened to me too.
Like, pushing the groups away, like if they're starting to swarm in, like the guys that come in like for the close combat. Like sometimes you just need to make a little space, you push them away or pull the other guy towards you, or like you do that like run in where you're kind of like pulling them into your lightsaber. So and you get like that extra bit of damage on them, and it's very satisfying when you're able to like kind of do these all in one sequence.
I don't think you get the force pull ability until some point almost midway through the game, I feel like, right?
Right. But like once you have it, like I feel like they start throwing more guys at you. So in those big battles, it's very easy to just start like kind of going buck nutty with all these skills where it's like you kind of need to start like working the crowd, and I love it. Like, because I was never a big fan of like throwing the lightsaber away, just because like if it's one guy maybe, but now you have no defense on anyone coming at you or shooting you and stuff. So it was you had to make use, but like jumping over to like just all these things that you were able to do was very cool. I always like that where you're pushing these guy away, or like the kick. Like I love you get the I think it was like one of the trophies of the PlayStation. You have to like kick a certain number of dudes like off platforms and stuff like that. And it's literally just like this like step back and like
it's a little shin kick almost.
Leonidas.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yep.
But either way, after finishing this game, I really got endeared to this Cal Kestis character. I thought they built the character the right way from the ground up. As you go along, you get more and more backstory. There's some surprises, especially later on in the game, that were impressive and unexpected, to be honest. And I think it's an awesome character that if they wanted, they can make a show out of. They can make a movie series out of. I'd watch the hell out of it. I mean,
or even more games if they want to continue along with just playing with.
Well, that's what I think they're going to do with this character. I think they're just going to make a Fallen Order 2, so to speak.
But yeah, he's young enough where like they could just make like a series with him as the actual actor going through and doing whatever. Like
I don't know how old we'll be for that by the time that rolls around. But
I mean, it's Disney now. They got that Disney money. They could just be like, you know what? We're gonna pull this guy in.
Got that Disney money. We'll just print it. Print more.
We're cool. Oh, you know what we did not mention though? The amount of customization that they give you with this game.
Love it.
Yep. Ponchos, because that's his thing. Like he wears ponchos, is his clothing of choice.
Yeah.
So you find all kinds of colors and camo look at things. The amount of lightsaber like hilts and such to build like your lightsaber, like
little
lots of different
pieces,
like wacky ones. All the colors, you can make any color lightsaber blade pretty much, and you just have these little checkpoints that you just change out. The ship, you could change the color of the ship that you find. Like it's like
you can make BD1 match your
BD1
poncho and the mantis, the ship.
Very cool. And it's just a lot of Easter eggy stuff that you're finding. Like, so making exploring these levels worth it, where you're finding these really cool things. And also, it's not like you're just limited, because some games where it's like, all right, he uses this lightsaber or this is a double. You get to choose which kind of style you want to go with. Like, they let you do the double blade. They let you do the single, 2 lightsabers at a certain point. So
Yep.
any style that you like playing or like to you is the true Star Wars way, you can go in and it's wonderful. Very cool. And like your moves change a bit depending on the style of lightsaber you have. So that was a nice little flavor touch. Like you might just start getting a little sick of this. It's like, you know what, I'm gonna go double bladed. I'm gonna go Darth Maul on these guys and
Yeah.
doing all the spins and stuff.
Yeah,
Very
you
cool.
don't get that opportunity till a bit later, but it's for sure in there.
Well, the double bladed you get semi early. It's not like
Yeah,
that. The
you
two
get a
though,
move,
I think
a
is like
move.
the end of
Yeah.
the game. But
Oh, it's so
it's still
good.
cool. Still cool. Yeah.
All right.
Like once you unlock it, you're like, yep, let's do it.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I didn't play. Unfortunately, what was the other Star Wars game you mentioned earlier?
Unleashed? Yeah.
I
It's,
unfortunately
Star
only
Killer.
got I only unfortunately got to play that on the 3DS. So my experience with that game was different than
Oh, I didn't even realize they put it on the 3DS.
they did. Yeah, and it
Oh, wow.
wasn't great. It wasn't bad, but it like
Okay.
many other games, you know, it may have even
Fair
been
enough.
a DS game. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but
I played on the 360. Is that where I played?
yeah, Force
the-
Unleashed 2, I think it was they had.
Okay.
Maybe not the original, but for sure the second one.
Yeah.
So
Star Killer.
yeah, so this was my real experience where you get to be a Jedi. It had nothing to do with the Skywalker. Well, not nothing, but very little to do with the
Yeah, it really
characters from the
didn't have anything.
Skywalker saga.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still
They
part
really
of the same
didn't.
universe, and
Yeah.
I thought they killed it, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very cool. So, you know, again, I highly recommend. I know you definitely have been talking about this for a while, and
Yeah, it
played it
became a
more-
favorite
like,
for sure.
especially in like the current day and age, to be able to like play and replay, and then a third playthrough of any linear game
Yep.
definitely is something to say. Like with our limited time,
Yeah, like seriously, I mean,
it
God of
was-
War. I mean, how amazing was that? And that was narrative-driven single player. So,
I still haven't played that yet.
oh, dude,
I know, dude. You're telling me. I
you know when you should play that
I'm choosing
when
things,
you
yeah.
get your PS5 finally.
Mm.
It comes
when
with
that's
15 games from last gen
I'm
PS4.
hoping to play it then. That's
That's one of them, and make it one of your first, man. Dope game.
like I said, I'm trying to complete. I still haven't even touched Final Fantasy 15, and like that game I
Yeah.
heard was fantastic, and it's how many years old at this point? And I've
It was hit or miss for people. Either you loved it or
Yeah.
or it was.
I feel like
after you.
most people that were Final Fantasy fans loved it. So, but
Dude,
in
honestly,
any case,
I feel like with Final Fantasy, you could sort of throw anything and have it be Final Fantasy name on it, and then people would be like,
Yeah,
"Oh my
I
god,
guess.
Final Fantasy!"
yeah, I suppose.
But oh, dude, did you see the trailer for the next one?
Oh, 16? Sure.
How good does that look, though?
Very cool. Very
And
cool.
I'm not a Final
You know what,
Fantasy
actually-
nut. Like I love
You
some
know
of
what?
them.
Actually, I'm looking forward to a little bit more than that. Was that that Project Triangle game? Did you
Yeah.
see that little thing where
I
it's
did.
like the I love it. The what do you call it? The Octopath
Octopath.
Traveler style.
Mm-hmm.
Only like Final
Grit,
Fantasy
yeah.
like just oh man.
Yeah, I see people calling
man.
it Octopath Tactics online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm still waiting for them to remake like Final Fantasy 6 or something in that style. Like we saw someone make
There's a lot of
trailer
things that
and-
Square Enix isn't going to do
Come
that
on!
they should do.
Let's
There's a
do it.
million easy slam dunk that they can make
I know.
tens
I
of millions,
know.
maybe billions even. And they're just
Ah.
like, why? It's like they're saving it for something, right? When our
Yeah, right?
when our
Why?
company falls to shits and everything's
remade-
garbage, well, that's
they
when we'll
remade
make.
And all the other ones, even Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4, they redid in some fashion, whether it was on a handheld, etc. And then they skipped
People
5
want it
and
for
6
Switch though.
and went right to 7. And it's like,
People
come
want it
on.
for Switch. You saw the Nintendo
I mean,
Direct.
5. What's up?
You saw the Nintendo Direct, right? Obviously.
Yes, yes.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Mhm.
We'll get into that maybe next episode. We don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm hoping so. Yeah, well, this was a long time coming. We were like trying to get together to do this particular podcast, but
Yeah.
I'm glad we finally got a chance to do it. It's when we were able to follow through. We still have a few more we'd like to get going, but yeah, this game was really good. It was like a surprisingly excellent game when I played it. Like I expected it to be okay, and was very shocked at how good it actually was and how much I enjoyed playing it.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
beat
amazing.
it's always great to like be able to play through a game and complete it. I feel like nowadays I
Yeah.
tend to drop off of things, and
Yeah.
The
We actually
finish
got
is
to the
like,
end of this one, huh?
I feel I feel a sense of personal accomplishment.
Yeah, we did it.
Yeah.
separately, but we've done it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and they land you nicely in this, and at the end of this game too, right?
Yes.
A nice
Yes.
smooth landing with some surprises mixed in. You'll see.
Oh yeah.
Try and play it. You'll either love it or hate it. If you like Star Wars, if you're like a Star Wars mark like I am, I like most things Star Wars. You know?
I feel like you can't help it.
It's easy
like,
to please me.
really
You got to be a Jedi, a new character, you know, and then I thought they killed it.
Yeah, very well done. But yeah, we'll we're gonna keep trying to be consistent like we have been and putting out these podcasts. So we thank you all for joining us on this latest edition. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to hit that like button, subscribe. We appreciate it. It does help us out, and let us know what you think and anything you'd like to see us cover in the future.
Yep. And
We
EA
have
did not pay us for the glowing things we had to say about this game.
Of course not. But like all the garbage thrown their way, I feel like you have to stick up when it's worth doing.
Yeah, you got to shine a little a sun on on some of these devs here and there, even if they're bigger companies like this. So.
But yeah, we're on the Instagram at VG Boys, and yeah, we'll check us out Twitter, like Adam mentioned before, and we
I'm at Whirlin the Mage. You can follow me. You can follow Sean. What is it? Shifty McLewis is Shockdown. Your personal, and then at VG Boys. If you have any thoughts, disagreements, agreements about some of the things we said about this game in this podcast, definitely hit us up. If you're listening, you can check out a video version of this on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can listen to us on Spotify or anywhere really that you listen to your podcasts.
Yep, we're available on just about every platform.
Yes, sir. But mostly,
don't be jealous.
jealous.
Catch you on the next one.
Later, y'all.